What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on RotoGrinders. And if you're seeing us, that means you are ready to listen to some golf, or you clicked on us by accident, and we can try to keep you around to listen to golf. And it's a good week to listen to some golf talk, so we encourage you to stick around and check us out. Check us out at RotoGrinders.com. I am Justin Van Zuiden, STL Cardinals 84 in the daily fantasy world. Mr. Derek Farnsworth, a.k.a. Notorious, alongside. Should be a fun week. Noto, how you doing?
What's going on? Good to be back. Fun tournament last week, and hopefully an even better one this week. Didn't end up doing much DFS-wise in terms of profit, but hey, had a good year so far. How about you?
Hey, you won the snake draft last week, so you snuck it out from me on the weekend, and I finished third. So
must be why my little dollar sign was in DraftKings. So no, nothing else was cashing.
You said that you hated your team there last week and ended up winning. Yeah, doing well. It was, and that's, even though it wasn't, it didn't take down any GPPs. Like last week's tournament, in my opinion, is exactly what a PGA Tour event should be. Because the course was gettable if you were making the right shots, right? What Keegan Bradley was 8 under through 10 on Sunday or something crazy like that. And there were big numbers out there if you were, wayward and hitting it in the water. I mean, we saw rounds in the low 80s. So it was just a perfect example of good shots being rewarded, poor shots being punished. It wasn't the tricked out US Open style, right? The winner's got to be 1 over par or anything like that. It was -11 was the winning score for Henley, and Morikawa at -10 and Connors at -9. So a lot of the big names at the top of the leaderboard that were in the field last week, and a nice mix of low scores and high scores. And I think that, if you just snapshotted that, right? I don't think people want events where guys can't make any birdies at all. That's no fun. But you also don't want events where guys are getting to -30 because that's no fun either. So in my opinion, the way that played out last week at Bay Hill, that is what I would like to see more often in terms of course setup.
Agree 100%. Torrey Pines, a little bit more difficult, but another course where if you hit it well, you can make some birdies. This week at the TPC Sawgrass, kind of similar thing. If you're hitting it well, you can go really low here. And if not, you're going to be in the water. So I agree with you. I love the setup. Bay Hill is always one of my favorites. And yeah, it's just when your guy goes 3 or 4 under, you want him to go up the leaderboard, not be even with everyone else.
Or miss the cut, at the TPC Craig Ranch when they're playing there, you got to get to -10. So, still a fun tournament. And, back and forth there on Sunday. Henley edging out Morikawa and Connors at the end. Michael Kim. Another strong finish for him. We'll have plenty to say about him tonight. Keegan, who I mentioned was like 8 under through 10 on Sunday, did finish 8 under for the day and finished T5. Sepp Straka, Shane Lowry, Justin Rose, Jason Day, and Benny On rounding out the top 10. Guys like McIlroy, Fleetwood, Scheffler, Aaron Rai just outside the top 10. So a lot of the bigger names at the top of the leaderboard last week. I had to laugh on Thursday. I was glad it wasn't me on Cam Young this time. I think we can probably both put Cam Young to bed for a little while now. Noto tried it. I've tried it. It's just not there for him right now.
I was going to bring him up. My day was over on like the 5th hole or something. Golf's just so wild. He shot 82 and then 71. Had one of the few under round days or rounds on Friday. So yeah, Cam Young, I think I'm done for a while, but and a lot of like 66% was still lower than I was expecting heading into the week.
Yeah, funny story about I was not on Cam Young for DFS, but I was scrolling through the odds Thursday morning, and I saw that Cam Young was like +200 in his head-to-head with Fleetwood just for the first round. And I'm like, that's crazy, +200 against Fleetwood for one round. So I put a bet on Cam Young in the first round to beat Fleetwood. And then promptly, like I may have done that like 10 minutes before the round started. Cam Young hit his first tee shot out of bounds and made a triple on the first hole. And the odds went to like +800 about 20 minutes after I made my bet. It never really got close. So that was a donation to
I have you to blame. Once you didn't bet him Friday, he was fine.
Yeah, I didn't bet. I didn't touch it on Friday. Figured nobody would. At plus 10, probably didn't care, but then he goes out and shoots pretty well, but still missed the cut. Anyway, I just thought that it wasn't funny at the time for me either. So, alas, Cam Young still busted. But no to mention the 6-6 percentage being a little bit lower than expected. Guys like Hovland, Davis Thompson. Let's see, Thigala, Homa again, Harris English missed the cut. So even though we just had that minimal cut last week, there were still a few bigger names that didn't make the weekend. Anything else for takeaways from Bay Hill for you?
Yeah, I do like difficult courses because you don't have to putt that well to contend. And the top 5 guys on the leaderboard, none of them gained more than 3.6 strokes putting. Morikawa actually lost strokes putting on the week. So yeah, I love the courses where you can just strike it well and be up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Think it was a great event, and we will look forward to that one next year. But until next year, we get to say goodbye to Bay Hill and now continue the Florida swing with the Players Championship, affectionately known as the 5th major in a lot of circles at TPC Sawgrass. You may remember, or if you are just kind of a casual golf fan, you may think, well, this tournament usually isn't played in March. They moved it maybe 5 or 6 years ago, right around COVID times. In fact, COVID year might have been the first year that it was definitely not more than the second year when they had moved it to March. And this was, of course, it was 5 years to the day today when the infamous Rudy Gobert. It was 5 years ago today that Rudy Gobert was, standing at the microphone, and I laugh because I remember tweeting at the time. My parents were supposed to go on a cruise the next day, so I went back and found that tweet last night, and the replies, and all that were crazy. People telling me to slash their tires, and who's going to go on a cruise and that was when everybody was freaked out, right? Put the political opinions and all that stuff aside for now. It's everyone was pretty freaked out at that point in time, and then the sports world pretty much shut down. It was 5 years ago today, which is obviously right around the time of the Players Championship, where in 2020 they played the first round, I believe, and then shut it down after that. So, and my parents ended up leaving for the airport for their cruise. And then while they were driving to the airport, they got notified that it was canceled, and then they came home. So I didn't have to slash their tires to prevent them from going. But anyway, that was 5 years ago. So nice trip down memory lane. I was looking through the social media last night, reminiscing about that a little bit, when all we had was Outlaw Tour golf for a
couple months later. We were looking at Facebook pages to see where guys played their high school golf. So
that's right. All right, enough shenanigans. Let's go ahead and dig into the Players Championship here at TPC Sawgrass. So obviously plenty of history at the course, but only 5 or 6 years of data with the March date. The wind tends to blow a different direction. The course does tend to play a little bit different now than it used to in the summer months. So worth noting, if you're looking at anything prior to like 2019, may not be as valuable, but plenty of data on the new date. Now, what are we looking at for a course?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, moved to March, and over the last 4 years, the full rounds, the difficulty's been 15th, 15th, 12th, and 16th. So typically in a full year, we have 45 to 50 different courses that they play on the PGA Tour. So it's a hard course, but not extremely difficult. Water's in play on 17 of the 18 holes. And if you hit it well, you can go really low. Like we talked about, you can go 8 under par, and that's a pretty standard round around here. If you are hitting it well, there's a lot of par 5s. There's 4 of them. There's drivable par 4. And then if not, there's a lot of hazards. A lot of the holes require you to drop kind of where you went into the water, similar to what we saw last week. We have the iconic 17th hole where, the island green. And yeah, the fairway is pretty narrow. The greens are pretty small. I saw in the fact sheet that the PGA Tour put out 4-inch rough this week, which is an inch thicker than what we had last week. I don't know if that's regular here, but that seems really thick to me.
That seems thick.
And if you look at Data Golf's course fit tool, last week it was all about driving accuracy and driving distance. This week it's like hugely skewed to driving accuracy. And that's typically the case with most PDI courses. He likes to have courses that are more second shot, more about your approach play than your driver. And yeah, you're just gonna guys that play well in Florida, guys that can avoid bogeys. We typically have seen like huge wave advantages here the last 3 or 4 years, and there's been a lot of wind and rain, but hopefully we don't get that. Looks like Thursday and Friday look pretty clean, and then Saturday and Sunday looks gonna be a ton of wind. So yeah, it should be fun. Anything else you want to add with the course?
Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty good summary of it. And the lineup building, particularly if you're playing on DraftKings, is a little bit different this week. They tend to do this for the bigger tournaments, but the higher end golfers aren't really that much more expensive than usual. Maybe a little. We've got I think 7 above 10K, so that's a few more than usual, but not extraordinarily more expensive at the top. But the floor is a lot lower. Instead of 6K for the lowest salary guys, it's down to 5K. And there are some options in the 5s that are very much playable. We'll certainly get to some of them, but with options in the 5K range available on DraftKings, that's going to make the higher range more accessible for most people. It's going to lend itself to more stars and scrubs types of builds. And so it's not the, we can't roster anybody under 7,000. No, you can roster guys in the 5s this week, and that makes it easier to get Scotty Scheffler at the top. So lineup construction is a talking point for sure this week as well. And with that, we can go into this top range. So I mentioned 7 golfers above 10K. Scheffler and Rory are your top 2. They're 12-8 and 11-5. And then Schauffele at 11-1. Still kind of surprised that he's that high up there. But those 3 golfers are the tippy top of this top range. What are you looking at doing with Scheffler, Rory, and Xander this week?
Yeah, so to your point, it's a lot easier to get them than usual. And it does seem like there are more golfers priced above 9,000 than usual. There's 17 that are 9,000 or more expensive. It seems like that's a little bit more than usual. So I think that kind of plays into the floor of the pricing. But, I mean, it's hard to ignore Scheffler. I know he hasn't won this year, but look at his numbers from last week. He lost 5.2 strokes putting. Won here back-to-back years. He's first in the field in strokes gained in Florida on difficult courses and strong fields. We know Scheffler. If he putts decently well, he's probably going to be in the mix on Sunday. And then I don't have a strong take on Rory. Xander took off the rust. He made the cut, made a nice little move on Friday to make the cut, and then had a decent round on Sunday. But I still want to take a wait-and-see approach with Xander. If he was like, 9,500, I might have a different approach. So I'll probably play a bunch of Scheffler, a little bit of Rory, and then cross off Xander.
Probably, definitely. I am in the same boat. We'll cut out the adjectives. I am in the same boat with Xander. A little different maybe on Scheffler and Rory, simply because I think that ownership is going to continue to creep up on Scheffler because he's easy enough to get. You look at the history here, the putting stats from last week. I'm probably just going to play him at like 20%, maybe 25 at most. And that's going to be under the field. I'm okay with that. I don't want to completely fade him. I think that's crazy, but we'll probably have equal exposure to Rory and Scheffler, be slightly overweight on Rory, slightly underweight on Scheffler, avoid Schauffele altogether. And then I do like starting some lineups in the next range. And I'm interested to see where the projected ownership goes here because surprises me a little bit that we have Morikawa and Ludwig somewhat close to Scheffler in terms of ownership. Personally, I don't know if it's going to stay that way. Morikawa does not have the best history here. One top 20 finish in 4 tries. Ludwig hasn't been in the best of form. His stats don't pop the best. So I think that they will both dip maybe a little bit in terms of ownership. I like Ludwig quite a bit. I just think if he's, it's been that one big round from him that has been holding him back. His stats are a little bit skewed by he played one tournament with an illness for a couple rounds. And we know he can hit it plenty long off the tee. And if he's hitting it straight, he was 8th here last year, his first go around. So I like him a lot. I wish the ownership was lower. I hope it will be lower, but maybe I'm wrong there. So in addition to Morikawa and Ludwig, we've got Thomas and Cantlay, who's got some solid history on Pete Dye courses himself, rounding out the 10K plus tier. What are you doing in here?
Yeah, I love the range. I really like the idea of starting with one of these guys. You can build a more balanced lineup. And like you mentioned, with the cheaper floor, I do think a lot of people are going to gravitate to Scheffler. We have him up to 33%, and I think that's going to keep climbing, like you mentioned. Morikawa is probably my favorite play. I know he lost last week, but I mean, he didn't play poorly on Sunday. And his only miscut here, he was on the wrong side of the wave. I don't know if you remember that year, but guys were hitting like 7 off the tee on 17 because there was just no way to hit it onto that green, even with the wedge when they were in the bad wave. I think Brooks was in that one and a couple other guys that were just not too happy with how it played out. So I do like Morikawa. It's like the perfect course fit for him. He hits fairways. He's an elite iron player. And then over the last couple of years, he's really worked on his short game. I like the Oberg call. He actually lives right by here now, and he says he's played the course a bunch recently. So even though he's only played here once in the Players Championship, he's very familiar with the course. I liked reading those quotes today. So those are my favorite two. I'm kind of with you. No issue with JT either. You know, he's won here before. Didn't have a great week last week, but it was mostly with the putter. Prior to that, he'd been a top 10 machine. So starting with two of these guys is kind of what I like doing with my main lineup. And then Cantlay is kind of the odd man out for me.
Yeah, I've kind of been sour on Cantlay for a while. I mean, it's probably a little unfair. Decent Pete Dye history, but not necessarily on this course. In fact, he's the only guy above 9,500 that has lost strokes on field average here the last 5 years. Has gotten a little bit better, but miscut 3 times and then 19th and 68th. So not super impressive. Probably underweight on him again this week, but like the calls on Morikawa and Ludwig, I think we're kind of in agreement on that range as a whole. All right, I'll let you have the first word on the 9Ks here. Lots of options, like you mentioned, more guys than usual priced at 9,000 or better. In fact, there is exactly one player priced at every $100 level between 9K and 9,900. So that means we've got 10 guys in here. Who are you looking at if you're kind of building that balanced approach? And maybe you start with one guy in the 10Ks or two guys. Who do you like in the 9s?
Yeah, so my model loves Hideki, has him as the 5th best player in the field, but his recent approach numbers kind of scare me. I think he's lost on approach in 3 of his last 4, and that's kind of the most important stat for me this week. So I don't know what I'm going to do there, but as of right now, we don't have him with a ton of ownership. So if that stays low, it's going to be pretty easy. To be overweight, 17% is not too bad. I do like Tommy Fleetwood a lot. So he hasn't been great here the last 4 years, but he has 2 top 10s here in 7 tries. He's actually
He's gonna win one of these decades.
No, he's not. So I was actually looking to bet a couple guys in this range, and I was debating JT and Fleetwood, and then I looked up there. You know, PGA Tour wins, and JT has 15, and Tommy had 0.
15. I would have guessed. I would have taken the under on that.
I know, right? So yeah, JT, and he's won a couple majors, so he can certainly get there. But I don't know what I would say. Also, Fleetwood number 1 in this field in strokes gained approach this year, which I thought was kind of interesting. He's been playing well. He almost won the Honda in Florida 5 or 6 years ago, and doesn't look like a lot of people are going to play him. And then I like Shane Lowry at the very bottom of the range. Another guy that isn't getting a ton of ownership. He just loves Florida. He's been great here. He's been great at API. He's been great at Honda. And he's just a great iron player, pretty accurate off the tee. Those are my favorite 2, but no issue with Berger. I'm kind of slowly hopping on the Berger train. The other guys are kind of worrying me. I mean, Clark can blow up at any time. Burns and Finau haven't been great so far this year. Henley's coming off the win. I would have loved Henley if he would have finished second last week. It's kind of weird how that works. And Hovland has been struggling. So, yeah, a lot of guys that I don't love and then a few that I do.
Yeah, totally out on Hovland. I mean, it's just not there right now. He looked terrible last week. Until Hovland proves worthy of consideration at these salary points, he's just too expensive. I put a few things together, and again, I don't have a super sophisticated model. Look at some of the Betsperts stuff and put some of the filters in there. He came out 86th for me in that, and he's 9K. So not that I expect him to do that bad, but you never know. So I'm out on him as well. I've been on Berger the whole winter since he's kind of started to come around. I will probably have him a little bit less this week. I mean, his main strength has been off the tee lately. The approach has been average at best. But I mean, the overall numbers are still pretty good. I don't have any qualms with Berger at all. Now the price is kind of caught up to that where he's been playing. So I'm fine with it. Don't mind the Fleetwood call, despite, razzing you a little bit about it. But Matsuyama and Lowry are my two favorites in here. Matsuyama, really stellar course history. And Noto mentioned the approach numbers have been up and down in some of the recent events. He's still 11th in this field over the last 6 months in approach. And with his history, he tends to play the same course as well. So I like Hideki, and I like Lowry. I mean, Lowry, I've played the last 2 weeks, 2 top 15s, and was kind of in the mix both times. He's always kind of kicks it into gear around this time of year. And he's got strong history at Sawgrass as well. So give me Matsuyama and Lowry as my two favorites in the 9s. Anything else for you on this range?
No, we're pretty much in agreement in the 9s. Do you like Sungjae at all? He just hasn't been doing it for me lately.
Yeah, the approach numbers are pretty bad, so I think I'm out on him right now.
Yeah.
A little too expensive, relatively speaking, I think, with the way he's been playing on approach. All right, let's go down into the 8s. I don't love this range that much. I mean, obviously, Spieth is always going to be the enigma for me. Zalatoris, I like him on tougher courses, but don't know if I want to trust him. Straka's probably going to end up being somewhat popular after he had another top 10 last week. Tom Kim, stats aren't good right now. Pendrith has been great off the tee, but don't love that here. Like, I just don't like the AKs. I mean, I'm not just going to make up names to give a few in here. I do not like but 1 or 2 guys maybe sprinkling in here. But is there anybody you like it better than me?
No, I'm with you. I'll have exposure to 2 guys. The first being Siwoo Kim. He won here before. It was kind of the year where it was crazy weather and there were all those delays. And we should see some pretty significant wins on the weekend. He's also, top 10 here last year. 4 straight top 25s. He's an accuracy PTI guy. He won the Amex, which is a PTI course too. So I like Siwoo, and then I'll play some Jason Day. The stats never really back him up, but he's one of those guys that when he's in form, you kind of want to pay attention because he strings together good finishes, and he finished top 10 last week. Outside of that, I'm with you. I don't really want to play anyone else here. I would add interest in Bobby Mack if he had any course history, but he's 0 for 2 here. Zalatoris, he did lose 6 strokes putting last week and still finished top 25. So keep an eye on him.
That sounds about he's back then. That means he's back because that's about right.
So I'm keeping an eye on him, but probably not yet.
Yeah, I don't mind the Siwoo Kim call. Good numbers. I mean, you mentioned the win. He's also got a 9th in 21, 6th last year. Pretty good PTI history. So Siwoo is the one guy I can kind of get behind at 8,200. I mean, are we all just is Straka just like elite now, or what the heck? I can't figure out what to do with this guy.
He's been so good. I mean, we've seen him contend at the Open. He's been pretty good in some strong field events recently. This does seem like a really good course for him. He's top 7 in approach in this year and over the last 12 months. So maybe he's the guy that I need to add.
So every week to kind of get a pulse on where like casuals and stuff are at, I read Rob Bolton from PGAtour.com's power rankings for the week. So Rob Bolton puts out a column on Mondays. He has Sepp Straka number 1 this week, ahead of Scotty Scheffler, which, I mean, the most of the time he usually puts somebody chalky in there. Straka at number 1 threw me for a little bit of a loop. I certainly think that's a bit aggressive, but if we're all sleeping on him on Straka, I don't know. I don't think he's in that class, but I could just be personal bias for me.
I thought about betting him at 50-1. I think I like that better than DFS as chalk, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we've got him at 20% right now, and I'm just not into that, playing him as that much chalk. But could be the same as Seamus Power circa about 18 months ago, and ruined my summer that year. So I'll take Siwoo at 10% over Straka at 20. Yep. All right. Just finished my GPP article over at RotoGrinders a little bit ago. And in there, I put the only certainties in life are death, taxes, and Corey Connors being priced under 8,000 at a big tournament and being one of the more popular mid-range guys. We hinted at it last week that he would be 7,500 at the Masters. He's 7,900 at the Players. He's got a 13th year last year, a 7th in 21, and he's 7,900. So it's the season of Corey Connors beginning now. I just don't see any reason to fight playing him at 7,900 when it's a ball striking course. I know his approach numbers maybe haven't been quite as sharp as we're used to, but this is the time of year where he turns it on. So Connors at 7,900. You got Keegan, Adam Scott in here, some veterans in this range. Brian Harmon's pretty good Pete Dye history himself. Noto tends to like a few of those guys that I just mentioned. So what are your thoughts on the upper sevens here?
Yeah, we said it last week. You play Corey Connors at Bay Hill, you play him here, and then you play him with the Masters. No matter the ownership, he's going to crush. Typically, like the higher owned he is, the better he plays. He also crushes the Valero every year, like right before the Masters. He won there a few years ago. So I'm with you on Corey Connors. We have a 9% right now. I can't imagine that stays. But maybe everyone's just doing the stars and scrubs thing, and this range will get overlooked a little bit. Outside of that, don't mind a little Denny McCarthy. He's been playing well. He likes difficult courses. He's not the approach guy that I love, but over the last 3 months, he's 29th in the field in strokes gained approach. So much better than, his long-term numbers. And yeah, Harmon. I'll always play Harmon on these shorter courses. Keegan's fine, but I think everyone's going to play Keegan this week.
Yeah, I mean, after that big round on Sunday was making all the highlights. I like Harmon here. You don't have to be long off the tee. Really good course history. Last 5 years, he's got 3 top 10s at this event. So, if you want, though, you can play Cam Young instead of Harmon for the same price. We're good. We're good on that one for a while. All right, we're both out on Cam Young. Queue up the top 10. Be epic tilt if that happens this week. Don't mind Adam Scott either, but Harmon and Connors in this range, I think we're both in agreement. Matt Fitzpatrick has some good finishes here as well, but just haven't seen anything really from him lately. Theegala, Harris English looked pretty bad last week. Cam Davis went from like top of the leaderboard to the bottom with one terrible round on Friday. Not much else I love in the sevens until we get down to Aaron Rai, who this would profile as a good course for him with his long iron ability. Pretty solid history in 2025 so far for him as well. Stats look pretty good outside of the putter. So I like Aaron Rai at 7,100. Anything else you like above 7K?
Yeah, it's funny. I like to play like one big head-to-head in showdown just because you end up doing like a 3v3 and you're just kind of sweating guys versus guys. And my 3 against his 3, my 3 were all terrible, but he had Cam Davis. So I ended up winning because Cam Davis had like 1 fantasy point or something on Friday. So shout out to him for that. I appreciate that round. Lower sevens. I like Aaron Rai. I do think he's going to be pretty popular. It's a great course fit for him. 2 for 2 here. Comes in back-to-back 11 or top 11 finishes. And he gained 11 strokes ball striking in his last start. So guy that I like a lot. Seabez always plays well here and in Florida. He's been playing a little bit better lately. I like him. And then nothing else in the low sevens. Maybe some Nick Taylor. I don't know if you've seen his approach numbers, but he's just been on fire. He's actually 3rd in approach in 2025, which is kind of crazy. Nick Taylor, we think of him as kind of a short game guy that gets hot every once in a while, but he's been awesome with the irons this year.
Yeah, he has. Definitely a big boost up for him with those numbers, and only had 5% ownership for him right now. No real massive chalk down here. I mean, even Rai, who will be popular right now, we've got at 7. Maybe he gets up into the teens, but he's definitely my favorite in this range. And then before we go, so we got the 6s and then a few guys in the 5Ks that are viable. Want to make sure that we're going to have enough people for a snake draft tonight. Hopefully we got enough people watching live, but if you're interested in hopping in a snake draft in a few minutes, post a message in the YouTube chat. We'll see if we get anyone interested and we'll join that up in just a minute. So, but before then, we've got the 6Ks and the 5Ks. Frankly, I don't think a lot of the 6K options are that much better than the higher 5K options. We did see, we've seen some of these guys. Eckroat's had some good finishes. Harry Hall, who's probably the first guy that stood out to me in the 6Ks. You've got Poston in here, Horschel, Ben Griffin, who's been on quite the run for the last 6 to 8 months. I'd say Griffin is probably the first guy for me on a shorter course that prioritizes iron play. That stands out as a play in the 6Ks. Anything you like in the 6s?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. The only guy that I was going to bring up is Ben Griffin. I do think there are more options in the 5s than there are in the 6s. But the problem with Griffin, weird. I mean, he's played 9 straight weeks. That worries me a little bit. I don't know. You got to get some rest in there. And historically, he's been much better on easier courses than he has been on difficult courses. So I don't really love him. Other than that, like, who do we play here? Kitayama was like 9K a few weeks ago. Can we play him?
You play Harry Hall. That's
probably
yeah, I don't know. A lot of my guys that I usually like to take are like all driver, and I'm not playing them here. Like, I play Nick Dunlap like crazy compared to everyone else, but I'm not playing him here. So yeah, not much else in the 6Ks for me. But you mentioned the 5Ks being viable. Like, Michael Kim, the disrespect for Michael Kim being 5.9K. Dude's had like 5 top 15s in a row. Noto mentioned him last week, and I was kind of off of him, but I didn't really have a good rationale for it when we were talking about it. So literally the only negative is bad course history here, but Michael Kim's been in the mix every time he's teed it up since the beginning of February, and he's 5.9K. That's insane. We've seen Jake Knapp shoot a 59 a couple weeks ago. He's 5.9K. Kevin Roy was the most expensive golfer at the Puerto Rico Open last week. Doug Gim is all the way down here. So, you can play some options. And you play 2 guys in the 5Ks, right? You play Doug Gim and Michael Kim. And you've got a little rhyme. And you've got a bunch of salary left over. I mean, Kim and Gim, I'm going to lock them both in. I've got 96.25 on average for 4 spots, which is wild. So that just goes to the different pricing this week. So your thoughts on how to handle the 5s here?
Yeah, I don't know when the salaries came out for the players, but last week Michael Kim was like $200 cheaper than Hideki Matsuyama, and now he's $5,900. He's got 5 straight top 13 finishes, a lot of them in really good fields. So, yeah, he's going to be popular, but I like him a lot. Doug Gim's 27th in my model this week. He's 5,600. We used to always joke that you would always play Gim, and I would say I only play him 1 week a year, and that's the players. And so I'm back on Gim this week. He's almost
5,600. I mean, these are
5,600. Chan Kim rates out pretty well for me. He's min 5K. He's been playing well. Taylor Moore is a guy that just is making a ton of cuts in a row. Smalley's a good ball striker.
Hop in a snake drift too, by the way. I'm sorry, I meant to do that a minute ago. Let's see what we got here. I gotta find it. All right, there is a $5 snake draft that is 0 out of 6. So I'll be the first to enter that, and I have YouTube open, so I'll pop that link in the chat. Sorry to interrupt you there on your Chan Kim thoughts.
No, that was about it. Smalley's a good iron player.
Joe Highsmith just won a couple weeks ago.
Rory Cantor's been on fire on DP World Tour. He's got first, second, and third in his last 4 events.
You can play 6 guys in the 5Ks and leave 30 grand on the table. Yeah. I'm not seriously suggesting that, so don't do that. But I don't know. I don't understand how there's 2 viable guys in the 6Ks and 6 viable guys in the 5Ks, or maybe maybe that's just indictment of me. I guess we're targeting the wrong guys.
Well, there's only 22 guys in the 6Ks this week. Normally, there's like more than half the field. They're all just cheaper this week.
I got the second pick. I'll never get Scotty Scheffler ever again.
Are you gonna go Rory or Morikawa?
I'll take
Ludwig.
I love Ludwig, but I'm not taking him number 2. I'll play him in DFS. If he has a great week, I'll be fine.
Yeah. All right, this week I'm going to align my picks with my DFS side.
You say that now until draft gets away from you here.
I'm going to pick Tommy Fleetwood first, just to make sure.
5 RG logos in the draft, plus the SAP supplier, the odd man out with the football helmet. It's okay.
We didn't talk about Spieth.
When's the last time I've talked about Spieth being anything positive?
The snub narrative.
Is he still an elite driver?
He got snubbed for the API last week. He's going to be mad.
Campos finished second from last.
I bet they are regretting that decision a little bit.
I mean, and plus he didn't get to play in Puerto Rico. Like, it just threw everything off.
Like, if Spieth's in the top, 20, it's got to boost the ratings by at least 5%, right? Or maybe top 10. How's your one and done? I haven't picked anybody good.
I forgot last week.
Oh, no.
That's wonderful.
I usually do that.
I forgot. It's tax season. For those who don't know, I'm a CPA, and I just forgot. These are the busiest couple weeks, and I remembered, and it was a super early lock. Like, I woke up Thursday morning and remembered, and it was already too late. So, yep, gonna have to start going swinging for the fences mode here soon.
I burned Scheffler, and he finished T11. That's as good as not using anybody.
So do I burn Scheffler here, and if he wins, I'm back on track, or do I go for broke already?
Yeah, he's 68% available, so 32% of people have burned him already.
I think I'm going to fire the bullet. We'll see.
I already used JT.
Mike Campbell's asking who the pick is in the one and done. Well, it's better than not picking anybody. I'll tell you that.
I might go Ludwig. Oh, the SAP supplier logo just switched to RG and then went back.
Oh, he must be. Well, I want to see the 6 RG logos. I might have to try to refresh after my next pick. My next 2 picks.
Okay, good start for my sticking to my guns this week.
Kind of wanted Lowry. Kind of wanted him.
Yeah, Straka's going high. 11.4 ADP.
Number 1.
Number 1.
All right, I'll go Cantlay and Connors there.
Now, this is the dead range. This is where it's going to make or break the snake drafts.
All right, I got to refresh this. Hopefully it doesn't screw up. Oh, still football helmet. Tricked. I wanted to get a screen grab of 6 RG logos. Alas, not meant to be. Yeah, I mean, in this range, you could probably take any combination of about 15 guys and wouldn't seem crazy.
Yeah, I thought about going down to Rye, but he just feels. You remember his DFS price, and you're like, it's too early.
Take Michael Kim. He's 5,900.
I wonder what his ADP is. Oh, he doesn't have one.
Yeah, no, he's right here. 22.5.
Oh, wow.
He's 5,900.
24th overall.
He's right under Speed.
Yeah, that's not.
I'd take Michael Kim over Speed.
Even when Spieth was good, this wasn't a good course for him. But he's a much better driver of the ball now. So
Get out of here. Get out of here with those shenanigans. I don't like anybody right here.
Aaron Rye was gone. I know.
I like nobody here.
Okay, I'm going Spieth. No.
That's
Tony
insane.
Finau. I'll go Tony Finau. How has he been here? Doesn't seem like a Finau course. Not great.
I don't like any of these guys. Do I take Clark? I take Clark? Burns? Oh, whatever. Clark at 23.
Clark was first round leader and then finished T22. He's done that 2 of the last 3 events. First round leader and then finished outside the top 20.
All right. I'm going to snipe Brian Harmon from you here.
That's a good one.
I dare you to take Michael Kim. I bet you Michael Kim doesn't make it back to you.
He's number 1 on my list right now. I mean, Sam Burns, if you play this 100 times, I'll take Zalatoris.
Take him. Why you're going between Burns and Kim and you take Zalatoris? Michael Kim is not making it back to you.
I like rooting for Zalatoris, you know.
He's not easy to root for. That was a poor statement. He's not easy to root for because it's a tough sweat, not because he's a bad guy.
I like Gim more than Kim.
Michael Kim, done, off the board.
Okay, I'll take Gim.
Okay, I can live with that. There goes Sam Burns.
I probably could have waited on Gim. He was 88th in the rankings.
Cam Young is available.
Oh, Adam Scott, Hovland.
Yeah, that's who's Adam Scott's going right now.
We just took Michael Kim and Doug Gim over Adam Scott and Victor Hovland, who was like 10K in all the majors last year. Okay. Minwoo contended here a couple years ago.
Ben Griffin for my last one.
Thought you were going Cam Young.
No, I'm good. Good for a while.
I'll go Minwoo.
All right, so we're through. It's McIlroy, Cantlay, Connors, Clark, Harmon, Scott, and Griffin for me. Morikawa, Lowry, Day, Finau, Zalatoris, Gim, and Minwoo Lee for Noto. Lineups look pretty good here. Obviously, you got a pretty deep field and a first huge tournament of the year. Big prizes to be won out there in the daily fantasy world for the players. And wrapping up with Fitzpatrick, Tom Hoagie, and Grazerman, the last pick of the draft. So with that, went almost 45 minutes here. So we'll call it a show for tonight. Thanks as always for tuning in. Good luck sweating all your contests this week. Again, check us out, rotogrinders.com. Check out the Discord. Nice golf channel to sweat and tilt in there for this big tournament. And as always, thanks to Noto for joining me. Thanks to Steve for producing, working hard behind the scenes for us. Good luck. We'll see you back here next week. Same time, same place. Until then, for Noto and Steve, I'm Justin. We'll see you, everybody.